Hello, everyone, and welcome to No Idea, a mental health podcast. My name is Nathan,
And I'm Emily.
and what are we talking about this week, Emily?
Boundaries.
Boundaries. Really important topic when it comes to mental health, I find.
Very
Something
important.
that we're not always necessarily particularly good at.
No, no.
The starting question, actually, I feel like one of us is probably going to be better at this than the other. Place your bets now who you think is the one who's really good at holding boundaries. Um, I guess the first question, let's just get straight into it. So, have you ever said yes to something when really what you wanted to say was no?
I can't think of an example, but I would hedge my bets and say absolutely. Yes,
So,
I have probably done that.
can't think of an example. For so those of you who had Emily down as the answer as the one who can hold boundaries well, you were very correct.
Have you?
I mean, yeah, I can think of loads of
Can
times.
you?
Yeah, I think I'm better at it now than I used to be.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure, thinking about it, I picked several of my GCSE subjects because my friends told me to. I'm pretty
Wow.
sure that I covered subjects where it's like did art at GCSE, failed at art GCSE. Anyone who's wondering if you can actually fail art GCSE, you absolutely can. Because I didn't want to do it. I wasn't good at it.
Failed art,
I
Jesus.
failed art GCSE.
So sorry.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I can laugh about it now.
I'm so sorry.
It feels like art feels like a subject you shouldn't be able to fail.
Failed art. How did you
You
fail
genuinely
art?
can. Just not being good at it, not liking it or caring about it, and only doing it because your friends told you you should.
Oh, Nathan.
So if we're
Wow.
talking about boundaries and how bad they can get, I mean, it could be worse. Like one of my friends did pick his subjects by tossing a coin. You're leaving that up to chance then, at least.
Yeah,
I don't know whether
that's
that's worse than being forced into it. I think
I don't
forced
know
into it.
either.
My friends didn't force me. I could have said no. I just
Coerced.
didn't feel like I could say no.
Oh,
Because I
wow.
think at that stage, I was very much like people pleaser mode. Like I was very much an anxiety response. I want everyone to like me, not because I wanted to be like popular. It's like, if
Mm,
you like me, you're not going to hurt me.
okay.
That was like the underlying thing.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah,
like, and that would mean going along with things that I didn't want to and
okay.
saying yes to things when actually what I really want. And sometimes that turned out really well. I remember going to Alton Towers and being stood in the queue for Nemesis
Yeah,
and absolutely not wanting to do that with every fiber of my being, being
yeah,
absolutely terrified, having never been on a roller coaster in my life.
and that was your first.
That was my first one.
Wow.
I only did it because I didn't want to say no. People absolutely love it.
Okay,
My
brilliant,
favorite thing in the
brilliant.
world almost now.
Oh,
I
wow.
love Nemesis. I was so glad I did that.
Is it the one where you're sat down on the chair and your legs are
Yeah,
loose? Yeah, I love that
yeah,
one.
absolutely
Love
love
that one.
that. That was an example of that turning out well. I think
Okay.
GCSE art was an example of it turning out badly. But I think there's loads of times where I've said yes to things when I've wanted to say no. And I think sometimes that's been a self-confidence thing. Sometimes that's been an anxiety response of, I'm worried about what the repercussion is if I say no. I
Okay.
hold that boundary. And I think what that's meant is I have put myself in situations where I don't want to be a lot of the time and found it really
Yeah.
hard. But less so for yourself.
I mean, I guess I could probably say as a general rule, there were probably times like when I was younger that I went out when I didn't want to, and that would have come from a place of fear of missing out and fear of them not wanting to be my friend anymore.
Yeah.
Like I can relate to stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I think it's like an anxiety
yeah.
response to that.
Well, I
Of
think it's an
what if?
attachment thing as well, isn't
Yeah.
it? It's an insecure attachment, isn't it?
Yeah. We
So
haven't
I
really talked about attachment theory in this section
no, we
too much.
probably should. That's probably a whole
I think that's
podcast,
how
isn't
big a
it?
whole session
Love,
is in
I love
talking about
attachment.
attachment. I think it's one of those ones where, like, if you're familiar with it, you probably know what your attachment style is. If you've never heard of it before and you cover it, it's like,
Yeah, mind
okay,
blowing.
that makes sense now.
Yeah,
So I think we should do a whole session on
yeah,
that.
I'd like that.
But yeah, I think that anxious attachment style.
Yeah, yeah. Fear of being alone, losing people because you didn't do what they wanted to do.
Yeah, I think it's those what if question.
Yeah,
What if this happens? What if that happens? And I think that can feel pressured
yeah,
to
yeah.
respond in certain.
And absolutely that people pleasing that
Yeah,
you mentioned earlier. I think that's a big driving force, isn't it, for saying yes when really you want to say no. Putting somebody else's needs and wants ahead of you.
yeah. I don't think there's necessarily anything wrong. I think you look at like relationships in general. I think sometimes you go along with things because it makes the other person happy, not necessarily because you want to do it. And actually,
Yeah.
sometimes I think that's a nice thing to do. That's not necessarily a bad thing. So, like, I've been to see Tom Grennan live on 3 occasions. I do not like Tom Grennan. I'm probably the person in the world who's seen him the most who doesn't want to go and see him. Nothing against him. I'm sure he's a lovely person. Just the music's just not my thing.
Not
But
your
Linda
bag.
loves him. My wife loves him. So I've been like 3 occasions to see him live, but it makes her really happy, and I like seeing her happy. And
Yeah.
it's not like it's a massive issue for me.
Yeah, it
I'm
doesn't
not
do any
sat there hating.
harm.
Yeah, I'm not sat there hating every moment of it. I'm like, oh, this isn't my thing, but I know that it's Linda's, and it's really nice that she gets to do something.
Yeah.
So I think sometimes boundaries are things that there are some boundaries I think that it's okay to be flexible on, and then I think there are some where it's like actually that can be quite harmful to not hold that.
I would say that's more compromise than boundary
Hmm.
crossing
Yeah.
because people pleasing is a real bugbear of mine.
Okay.
It really annoys me.
Say more about that then.
I think we, as Brits, as I don't know if it goes beyond that, I'm not sure, but we have a real tendency to put other people's feelings above our own,
Yeah.
and I really find that hard. I really find that hard, and I
S
find that hard with my children because I can see them trying to do it, and I'm like, no, 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 we're not doing that. I'm not talking about being ruthless with other people's emotions,
No.
but that they aren't more important. You know, we aren't responsible for how other people feel. I feel like I'm going off on a bit of a tangent because
No, because actually I think it's something really relevant in that because we talk about why boundaries are important, and
yeah,
then we have to talk about, like, the harm not holding a boundary can cause.
I,
And I think this is something where what you're talking about actually feels very relevant, that
yeah,
putting other people's emotions above our own.
yeah, yeah,
And I do think that's quite that can be quite a British way of being.
absolutely.
I don't know whether that applies to, like, other cultures
Not
as
sure.
well. But yeah, I think there is something definitely in that. That's something you're working really hard with your kids to try and not instill in them.
Yeah, because it annoys me, and I'm really finding it hard to put a lot of words to it. But it really grates on me that it feels like that's almost a default setting. I don't know if that is beyond, if that goes beyond my kids, and I'm not sure, but I feel like that is the default of that person's going to be upset unless I do that, and but I don't want to do that. That's just
It's like one of us is going to be upset here. It should be me and not them.
yeah,
Yeah. And I
yeah,
definitely relate to that. I think there's an element, definitely a truth in that. That a lot of the time we go, okay, well, I don't want to upset the other person, so I will be upset because I don't matter as much.
yeah,
Maybe.
exactly.
I don't know. I mean, I suppose it varies from person to person as to why they have that response. Is
Yeah,
it that I don't feel comfortable seeing another person angry or upset? Sometimes actually it's not necessarily upset, it might be anger. Okay, well, if I say no, that person's going to be angry with me. And actually, speaking from my personal experience, anger is an emotion that I find difficult.
yeah,
I find it hard when other people are angry with me. And I'm much better at that now. I think I used to find that really difficult. So, but I would rather be disappointed or upset or have to endure something that I don't want to because it's better than the other person being angry at me.
yeah,
I guess sometimes it can also be that other person will be disappointed. I
and
don't,
that's their emotion to deal
yeah,
with. We don't have to what's the word? Like, be responsible for theirs. And I think the reason it annoys me is because I've worked really hard at putting myself level with other people in my head.
yeah.
I'm not saying being careless with people, but
No, that's a very different thing.
yeah, just you being happy is not is equally as important as me being happy,
Yeah,
I think.
yeah. But I imagine there's a lot of people listening who could probably relate to that idea of times when they've put other people's feelings and emotions above their own. And I think so maybe that's harder as a parent with your kids. I don't for some people of like your kids come first. And
Well, they have to, don't they?
I mean, they're physical, yeah, physical needs, definitely. Emotional needs, you're helping them to sort of grow and develop. But I guess there's also, probably times where you maybe have to make decisions as a parent where it's like, okay, I don't like this, but I can see that they really
Yeah,
do.
yeah,
And actually, I'm putting them first because that's kind of my role as a parent.
yeah.
But I think when you're talking adult to adult,
It's different,
it's
isn't it?
different.
It's
And I think
different.
that it's not necessarily a boundary, but it's kind of almost a thing, like you say, of my emotions are no less important than anyone else's. They're no
Yeah.
more important. Like we're equal of
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
but I think also what you said there was really key was I'm not responsible for someone else's
Yeah,
feelings. And
definitely.
I feel like there's probably quite a lot of people who need to hear that,
Yeah.
that you're not responsible for how someone else feels. And I think in close relationships, we often take that responsibility
Mm.
of, well, I need to make the other person happy. Well, actually, you don't.
Yeah, I think that's what we're taught, isn't it?
Mm,
Or maybe not taught, but those are like the subtle messages that we get, I
yeah.
think, when we're younger. At least for you and I don't mean you
Yeah.
and I, but you and I, our
Our generation.
generation.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think, again, it's a balancing point because it's also not going too far the other way and going, well, I'm more important than everyone else.
Yeah,
My emotions are the only ones that matter.
yeah,
I think it's coming down to recognizing you can't control how someone else reacts or how someone
yeah,
else feels. And also, it isn't really your responsibility too.
absolutely not. That's theirs to deal with.
Yeah.
I
I
think
also
so.
think, like, let's say you were taking responsibility for making someone else happy, like a partner, for example, and like everything you did was about making them happy. And then something happened to you, and they've become so dependent on someone else meeting their needs and making them happy that they can't do it themselves.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well, that's not helping that person
No,
either.
you're setting yourself up to fail, aren't
It
you, eventually?
is. It is eventually, yeah.
But don't get me wrong, like for my kids, so I do, so like generally as a rule, I won't do something unless I want to do it. But
Yeah.
for my children, I don't want to be going to kids' parties. There are a lot of kids'
Do you not want to go
parties.
to kids'
I don't want to go
parties?
to kids'
Really?
parties. Like, I didn't envisage my life on a Saturday afternoon of going to kids' parties with 30 screaming kids. But I do it. I do it for my children.
Are
So I
you
don't want to put this thing out that I won't do anything.
That's fair.
for
I'm just curious, are you at the point now where you've gone to more children's parties than you have, like, parties as an adult
Oh,
in your life?
absolutely. Their
You've
social
gone
life
past
is
that tip.
way better than mine. Way better.
And it's, again, that's part of the role of being a
Of
parent,
course.
isn't it?
Of course.
And those are the sacrifices you make. And it's a compromise. Sacrifices isn't really the right word. It's the compromise you make.
Yeah, you have kids, you know you're gonna have to do stuff you don't want to do,
Yeah.
like kids' parties on a Saturday.
Yeah. And I think compromise is there in all relationships. But when we talk about boundaries, I think it's the unhealthy boundaries of,
Yeah.
actually, this is now becoming harmful to me. And this is where we sort of link it into mental health and the harm that boundaries can have. And when I think about boundaries and mental health, I think if you're doing things that you don't want to be doing, or you're putting yourself in situations you don't want to be in, you're adding anxiety, you're adding stress. And I just think it's taking away from your own self care.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I think it's fine to do those as one off things. It's when it starts to become a pattern, it starts to become a habit. I think that causes a lot of harm for
Mm,
me.
yeah, yeah.
Why do you think it is that people find it hard to hold boundaries? Like, I know why I found it hard when I was younger.
I think there's a whole set of reasons, isn't there? You know, the reasons that you and I gave of, you know, fear of what that might mean,
Mm,
you know, what that might mean for the relationship of the person you're saying no to. I think, again, what I always bang on about is it's not taught. We are not taught from a young age to have boundaries and that it's okay to look after yourself
yeah.
and have self care, and that a boundary is a form of self care, I think.
Yeah, it is.
So
Absolutely.
when, you know, when people come to therapy and we start talking about boundaries, it's kind of an alien concept for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And their life has become so boundaryless to the point of it being detrimental for their mental health.
I've had clients who they've come and they've been talking about a relationship or talking about something they're doing that they don't want to be doing. And I say, what would it be like to not do that? And the look of horror
Yeah.
of like I'd asked them, I don't know, like asked them to go and commit a crime or something. It feels like that
Yeah.
serious. I thought, couldn't possibly do that. And again, part of it is like we're not taught, like you say, that boundaries are okay. Living in a society, there has to be compromise there, but you also have to have some very clear boundaries about what is and isn't okay, because people will take advantage if you don't have boundaries. Not necessarily maliciously. I think some people do, definitely.
Yeah.
But I think sometimes like we give so much ground that people naturally just fill that
Yeah.
space.
And it becomes a pattern, doesn't it? A pattern in a relationship.
Mm.
And, you know, you're kind of modeling something. If you don't have boundaries for yourself, then that's what you're modeling in that relationship. So why would they then respect any boundary you could have?
I think that's the fact that it's not taught is definitely a big part. I think also, I want to say expectations, and I guess I want to sort of clarify that a little bit in that gender roles, gender expectations, some things are just expected of. So things are expected of mothers that maybe aren't expected of fathers, for example.
Hmm.
That kind of that stereotypical view of like, well, the mother is the primary caregiver. The dad's there to help out every now and again,
Like a babysit.
if he's got time to. But
Yeah.
the idea that most of child's rearing goes to the mother is like, well, that is not. You're sort of setting up like a stereotypical boundary there that actually probably isn't true for a lot of relationships
Mm.
anyway. But I think the expectation that goes with, and I think there's a lot around kind of consent, I think, and boundaries, which has historically been in a very murky area
Mm.
in what those boundaries are and what consent is. I think we're better at talking about that now, but you've got generations, particularly generations of men and boys, where again, that conversation never happened
Yeah.
about what consent is and what someone's boundary is.
Yeah. And it feels like it's such a messy subject to talk about, isn't it? It's a real difficult one because I feel like we've only just started having these conversations very recently.
Yeah. And they're still not clear cut conversations. They're
No.
messy
No.
conversations right now because I think you are undoing generations of messaging and expectations
Yeah.
and stereotypes. And um, yeah, that takes time, sadly. I think it's positive that those conversations are happening. I think sometimes you sort of look at some of the things that are going on in the world and it's a bit frightening that we might be taking backward steps in some areas, I feel. But I think just the importance of having those conversations around boundaries.
Yeah. And respect of people's boundaries
Yeah,
too, I think.
absolutely.
You don't have to understand a person's boundary, but you do have to respect it.
Yeah. I think for me, I think there's gender aspects to why people find it hard to hold boundaries. I think for men, for example, that might be, you know, a group of male friends at work saying, "Oh, we're going down the pub after work. You coming with us?" Sometimes it's not even a question of are you, it's like, "You coming with us, right?"
Mm.
And it's like, well, actually, no, what I really want to do is go home and like sit on my sofa, cup of tea, and just the idea of going to a pub just feels loud and noisy, and I don't feel like that today. But I feel like it's expected of me because that's what the lads do. And I think
Yeah.
the gender expectations kind of work on both sides. I think there's the pressures of things that we should be able to do. We
Yeah.
should say yes to. Maybe we don't want to say yes.
Yeah. Definitely.
Do we think it's harder for some people to hold boundaries than others? And if so,
Yeah.
why?
I think a lot of inputting boundaries is modeled. So I would say that my husband's family have modeled good boundaries for me in the sense of if they get asked to do something and they don't want to do it, they will happily say no.
Yeah,
And prior to meeting him and them, that's not something I would have done.
yeah,
But I think there's something really good about modeling. So I think a lot of it is to do with, family and who you've got around you and how they treat boundaries.
yeah. I think if you've got people around you who have struggled to hold boundaries themselves, you haven't got that mirroring going on for you. You
Yeah.
can't sort of look at someone and go, "Oh, that's how it should be
Yeah.
done." And I think that's particularly strong in families where if you've got families where boundaries haven't been particularly strong,
Yeah.
that gets passed down generation to generation. And it's that kind of what you're surrounded by every day as well.
Absolutely.
You sort of mirror what you see.
Yeah.
And so for a lot of people, it's like I haven't had good role models when it comes to boundaries. I do also think trauma plays a big part in. Well, I think when you've been through traumatic experiences where your boundaries have been violated and sometimes violently violated, I think it's really hard to kind of put those boundaries back in place for some
Yeah.
people.
Absolutely.
And that's through
Absolutely.
no fault of their own. I think if you've got people who are listening to this and know that they struggle to put boundaries in place, that's not a stick for you to beat yourself with. It's not like,
No,
okay, I've done something wrong
not.
for this. It's that might not have been mirrored for you. You might have had experiences where boundaries weren't respected by other people. There's lots of different reasons why you might find it hard to put a boundary in place and hold it.
Yeah. And I think boundaries are a work in progress, aren't
Yeah.
they? None of us, even us that have done training for is it 3 years? 4 years, something like that.
30 years. Say, how long did it feel?
100 years.
When I went back and listened to the previous episode when we talked about our training, I feel like we really did anyone was listening to that thinking of doing training, they'd look at that and go, oh, maybe
Absolutely
not.
not.
I do think it was a great thing to do. It was a fantastic
Brilliant.
experience.
Brilliant.
I'm really happy that I've done it. For anyone who is in any doubt about that, really happy they did.
Yeah,
It felt long though.
it felt long, but I think we all had our different reasons for going, and mine was I didn't understand a lot about myself. I wanted to be a therapist, but there was a lot of not understanding, and now I understand more things about myself, and I have the tools to be able to do that. So I would, I'm definitely glad that I did it, but it was long. It was a long, grueling course. I think as all of us, we're just humans, aren't we? And we're just trying. We're just trying things every day. We're just trying to make progress. We're just trying to make strives to be better, and it's not about or we're perfect and this is what we do. This is the steps to help you get to a different place.
Yes. And that was the point that you were making about this is a work in progress for everyone. Even if you've done training, it's still a work in progress for us.
Yeah.
There are times where I will say yes to things where I don't really want to, or I know it's going to have a negative impact on me. And I'm like, well, I'll do it in this one case. But I'm better now at kind of taking a step back and going, before I say yes to this, do I really want to? Is this something I can say yes to without it having a detrimental impact? Is it going to lead to me saying yes to something else that I don't want to? The reverse of that, saying no to something when actually I really want to say yes. Like I miss an opportunity because I can't.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is a work in progress, I think, for everyone. And getting to that point where actually you recognize the importance, I think, is the first big step of okay, boundaries are really important.
Really important.
But then I think there's sometimes a little bit of okay, I know they're really important and I want to put good boundaries in place. I'm just really bad at it now. And I think there's also then a time period of practicing and getting better at it. It's not a thing where you're going to go, you know what, actually, I'm done with not holding healthy boundaries. I'm going to start saying no to things. And then you just do it flawlessly. I don't think that happens. I think it's like you have that intention and then the first opportunity comes up where someone goes, oh, do you mind just doing this? And you go, yeah, go on.
Yeah. It's enough, isn't it, that you've thought, I need to look at healthy boundaries. We're not saying you're going to do that, like you just said, and then, oh, I'm perfect at holding boundaries. I'm not doing anything I don't want to do.
Yeah. And I mean, to use an analogy, it's like deciding, you know what, I want to go and run a marathon. You're not going to go out tomorrow and run a marathon. It's like, okay, it's probably enough for me now to sort of have an idea that I want to do it and maybe have an idea of when I might be able to do it and then sort of plan how am I going to get between the two. All before you've ever done any running, you've just acknowledged that this is something I want to do. How am I going to go about it? And then it's like you start practicing and it starts small.
Yeah.
I think setting healthy boundaries is all about find the things that feel low risk at first. What is the thing where I can put a boundary in place where I know actually that person's going to be fine with it?
Yeah.
Because there's no stakes in that.
Yeah.
Don't just go to the hardest possible scenario and then try and put it in practice then.
No.
It's a little baby step.
Yeah. You know what we've spoken about before. You start with somebody who feels safe for you to say no to.
Definitely. Yeah.
And it's not going to be easy to begin with because you've lived a certain way for, all the way prior to this point. So it's not going to be.
And you might find that you do sort of slip back into old patterns as well. And that's fine too. I think progress is never like a straight line upwards. It's always like ups and downs.
Flippy.
Yeah, definitely. And it will vary day to day, week to week, depending on how you're feeling and what you're going through. But I think it's just enough for us to take time to reflect on what are my boundaries? What am I good at? Where am I good at holding boundaries? Where am I not so good?
Yeah.
And where do I need to sort of grow that? Be curious about. I also think it's just about recognizing the impact boundaries have, because I think it's something that we're not educated on. I think sometimes it's just about recognizing the impact that has. As we were talking, I was thinking of someone I used to work with many, many years ago who was in a relationship where I would describe it as an abusive relationship. The person was sort of very much taking advantage of them. And I remember sort of one day saying why do you put up with that? And the response was, because it's better than being alone. And it's that was my response of ouch, that's because I know what you're going through and I know how it's making you feel. And I know that you're allowing things to happen in that relationship that you don't want to happen. the fear and behind that is it's better than being alone. It's like, actually, from the outside, it doesn't look like it's better than being on your own.
Yeah.
But for
Yeah.
them, it was very much the fear of being alone. And I
Yeah.
will allow, and I think many people who've been through like domestic abuse relationships who come out the other side often go, I don't know why I put up with that for so long. I think that that's easy when you're on the outside of that to have that reflection. When you're in it, it's not easy.
It's not,
So if we're talking about holding boundaries, saying no to things, I think there are some scenarios, some situations where actually that's really difficult and maybe actually unsafe to do. There may be times where it is unsafe for you to say no to something because of the consequence. And I think recognizing that and then how do we deal with that situation?
yeah.
How do you get yourself to a place where you're not in that situation?
Yeah.
But that's not easy.
No, it's not easy. And I think following on from what you've said, sometimes boundaries can be linked to self-worth,
Yeah.
of thinking I deserve better.
Yeah. And I think this is where again links it back into mental health of like, if you're experiencing depression, what is your self worth going to be like? I've met very, very, very few people where when they're in the midst of quite serious depression, they
Mm.
go, but I really love myself and I think I'm great.
Yeah.
I You
Yes.
try not,
Not,
most people are like, I'm worthless. There's no point to me
yeah.
being here. I'm not contributing anything to anyone. I'm a burden on people. It's self worth gets massively impacted
Yeah.
by anxiety, depression, all of these mental health conditions. And then I think that's where it becomes hard to hold a boundary because, well, do I deserve it? Am I
Yeah.
worth it? And ultimately, it doesn't matter what you're going through, you are worth it. You have value and worth as a human being. We've mentioned this in a previous session about when you have a mental health condition, you have an illness. And it's like, that doesn't devalue you. Like, it's in the same way, a physical illness, you're not devalued by having the flu.
Yeah.
You are still a valuable, worthy
Yeah.
person. But with mental health, we do feel like it devalues us. And then so, well, should I be holding this boundary? Do I feel like I'm worth holding a boundary for because I don't feel good in myself? I think that's where, again, boundaries start to get eroded because of mental health. But then you
Yeah.
can also put yourself in situations where, because you're not holding boundaries, your mental health gets worse.
Yeah. It's that feeding cycle again, isn't
It
it? That we
is.
spoke
And
about.
we keep coming back to feeding cycles, but
It is.
it can feed on itself really.
But also, I would say, the only way that cycle is going to get different is if you step out and change, even if it's just one little thing.
Yeah. And sometimes that's all it takes is like one little thing
Yeah.
changes, and then that leads to something else and to something else and something else. And it is just small steps again,
Yeah. Baby step.
baby
Baby
steps.
step.
And that's fine because it's still steps, it's still
Mhm.
progress. You don't have to change everything all at once. And it is a constant work in progress. You'll never get to a point where you go, my boundaries are perfect all the
No.
time, ever. Because it's not.
No. Just humans, aren't we?
We are human beings at the end of the day. So it is just about actually doing what you can right now. Those people listening might think, you know what, my boundaries are pretty good. That's great. Just, keep checking in on that. Be curious about that. Just make sure that you're able to continue maintaining that. And also kind of what you're then mirroring for the people around you, I think is
Yeah.
important. But if there are people thinking, you know what, my boundaries aren't great, it's okay. Like this is something that can be worked on. What does holding a healthy boundary look like?
I think that for me, if we go along the example of being asked to do something, so the way I work is that my body will have a physical reaction. So I'll have a feeling before then I can attach words to what's going on.
Yeah.
So, and this is something that's caused problems in previous relationships. So if I'm asked to do something, I'll say if it's something that I don't want to do, I might get the oh feeling.
Yeah.
But at that point, I haven't immediately connected with I don't want to do that. So before I would say yes, whereas now I'll kind of sit with it for a bit. So I'll give myself time. I'll say, oh, I'm not sure, or can I have a think about it, or can I come back to you later, or something that just buys me a bit of time to go, what is that feeling? Is it that I don't want to do it? So, for
Yeah.
example, when you asked me to do this podcast, my initial feeling was, oh no. So I
Um,
took time to respond to you to think, well, why am I thinking that? Is
mhm.
it because I don't want to, or is it that it's out of my comfort zone? And perhaps that's something that's, really good for growth, for
Yeah.
example.
That was you sort of checking in with a boundary of like, is this an absolute definite no for me? Or is it actually that I'm just having an emotional reaction to it because it's
Yeah.
uncomfortable, but it is something that actually I would like to do?
Yeah.
I think ask you to do it was quite kind. Coerced you to do it is probably more accurate.
Probably, yeah.
But again, it's checking in with that gut feeling. So you have a very sort of physical response to it
Yeah.
first, and then you have to kind of sit with that and go, okay, what's that telling?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've just slowed down my response. So you don't need to, if if somebody asks you to do something, sticking with that example, you don't need to respond immediately. You can take your time.
I actually think that's a really good tip of like when somebody asks you something, we feel like we have to respond there and then.
Yeah.
And actually, it's perfectly okay to go, can you just give me a little while to think about that?
Yeah.
And I know it's probably not what they want to hear, but actually, it's what you need to do to create that space to check in. Because I think I'm the opposite of you. I don't always have the feeling. The feeling takes time to kick in.
Okay.
I think the feeling is there. I'm just very good at not listening to that. I think I've had
Okay.
years of kind of blocking out a lot of the physical sensation of it. So my brain can cognitive go, yeah, okay, I can do that. Before and then like a little bit later, it's like, oh, why do I feel really about that?
Yeah.
And so, okay, well,
Yeah.
where were you when I needed to make the decision? It was there. I'm just not as quite in tune with that
Yeah.
quickly
Not
enough.
connected to it yet.
So I have to be the same as you, quite conscious of going, okay, let me think about that. So when someone will email me something, sometimes I'll just let it sit there for a few hours whilst I just kind of allow the feeling to catch up of, do I want to do that? Am I okay with that? But it is okay to not give a response there and then.
Yes. The world is not going to stop turning if you don't answer immediately. And if you say no.
That's the thing as well, actually, that you can take your time and then still come back and
Yeah.
say no.
That's okay.
At least you took the time to think about it. But I think, yeah, giving that bit of time for you. So when we talk about what healthy boundaries look like for you, it's that space. It's giving yourself that space
Yeah.
to check.
Or I answer.
Really curious as what your thoughts are on this. So for me, if I give someone an answer, sometimes that answer might be no. I always give a reason as to why. Now I'm in two minds about this. For me, it's like if I just say no, I'm leaving a space for that person to fill in. So if someone says, "Do you want to come? You want to come to this event with me?" And I go, "No." I'm leaving space for them to go, was it because you don't want to come to this event? Or was it because you don't want to do something with me?
Yeah.
So I'll say, no, that's really not my kind of thing, but thank you for inviting me. Let's meet again soon and do something. But I'll give a response and I'll give a reason why, because I don't want to hold that space. But there's part of me that's also thinking, you don't owe anyone an explanation for saying no. Like, no is, I feel like I saw something the other week about no is a complete sentence. And I
Yeah.
kind of sort of feel like you don't have to give an explanation to someone, but there's part of me that's like, I know what it's like to be on the other end and fill in the blanks yourself.
I'm in two minds about this because I wonder whether giving a reason is kind of a rescuer element of you of, I don't want that person to feel rubbish, so I'm going to tell them why. But also for me, I don't know if this is a British thing or a me thing. I feel there's something weird about just saying no.
Yeah.
My personal preference is to give a reason because I think that's polite.
Yeah.
But then there is a part of me that's going, why is that polite? So I'm,
Yeah.
ugh,
I think maybe actually, I suppose maybe now we're sort of talking, I'm thinking about it. I guess a response that is, no, I don't want to do that. I think that's perfectly fine. I don't think you have to say any more about why
no,
you don't want to. I
no.
think, no, I don't want to do that is perfectly fine. So I feel like you don't owe anyone an explanation for why you want or don't want to do something or why you like or don't like something. But I think it's about finding that balance of like being polite about it, but also not feeling like you have to justify the response.
And I think it also, it's very dependent on what you're saying yes or no to,
Yeah.
I think for me, as to whether
Yes.
it warrants any further explanation because I think it is. See, I feel like I'm going to fall a bit down a rabbit hole here because it depends what you're answering to. Sometimes no
Yeah.
is just okay
Yeah.
without.
So I don't know what you're doing after this. Do you want to go and rob a bank? Like,
No.
perfectly okay to go, no. And like that is a complete sentence. Like, we're not even going to go into why it's a no. It's like, should we go and mug some little old lady? No, let's not do that. Like, some things are just an absolute no in themselves and they don't require any explanation.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
I said to you, how about for the next episode, we do a session on this topic and you go, oof, what? not sure I'm quite ready for that. Like, there's your internal voice going, I'm not sure I'm quite up to that this week
Yeah,
or ready.
yeah.
That might require a
Discussion, I
discussion of,
think.
okay, no, I'm not really feeling that right now. Maybe can we put that back a bit, or
Yeah,
can we
yeah,
rethink it? Or so I think it does depend on what it is, what the boundary
yeah.
is. Some things are just going to be an absolute hard no, and they don't require anything else.
Because I think my head's gone back a little bit back to the consent conversation where
Yes, yeah,
I'm just going, "No is okay,"
yeah. I
and
think
that's
when it
fine.
comes to consent, no doesn't require an explanation.
Yeah, yeah,
So I think maybe I'm coming back to that. The answer being no, I don't want to do
yeah,
that is the
okay.
complete answer. And if someone goes, well, why don't you want to? I don't have to explain that. I just don't. I
Yeah.
think you wouldn't apply it to other things. Like I personally, I don't like the taste of tea or coffee. So I get offered tea or coffee all the time because it's a polite thing to do. It's the British thing to
It's
do.
very
Like,
British.
I mean, I'm a Yorkshire person as well. Can you imagine a Yorkshire person not liking tea?
Yeah, I'm pretty
Like, I mean,
horrified. I didn't
I'm
know
an
this about me,
outcast.
but
It's like, it's terrible. I can't go to Yorkshire. I have to go in disguise. It's terrible. But if someone said to me, "Do you want tea or coffee?" I went, "No, sir, no, thank you." I've never. I would say like I've never acquired the taste for it. Someone stopped and went, "Well, why don't you like it?" Okay, that's a weird question. Why don't I like it? Well, I just don't. Like, there's no reason for it. I just don't. And I think when it comes to boundaries, sometimes saying like, "No, I don't want to," that you don't have to explain
no,
why that
absolutely
is.
not.
You're perfectly entitled to not want something or not like something, and I think that's okay. I think sometimes, like I say, maybe there is room for discussion there. And I feel like that maybe there is a bit of rescue in me who knows what it's like to. And again, I think if someone just said, no, I don't want to do that, and someone else fills that gap of, okay, well, why? Is it because you don't like me? Again, I don't think that's their responsibility. That would be my responsibility for thinking, well, why does that person not want to do that with
Yeah.
me? I think I would be the one taking responsibility for going, okay, well, I'm putting something in there that there's no evidence for. My anxiety is talking there, not any rational part of me. But because I know what that's like, there's a part of me that wants maybe it is a rescuing thing.
Or maybe it's empathy.
Maybe
Maybe
it's
maybe it's that you know about that person might fill that gap
yeah,
in. I probably would fill the gap in my head.
yeah.
They don't like me anymore.
But I think again that's quite an easy thing for people to do. And I think
Yeah,
that's where again,
yeah.
communication's tricky. It's
Yeah, it's true.
hard. So I think it is about taking that time to check in with yourself, just being genuine and honest about what your boundary looks like for you. And I think the other sort of bit around what boundaries look like for me is that what my boundaries look like might be very different for you.
Yeah.
Like what I'm willing to do, what I'm okay with, like going to see Tom Grennan 3 times. Someone else might be like, doing that. I'll go once. The rest of the time you're on your own.
Enjoy that enough.
I mean, yeah, I like going. It's a date night with my wife, even if I am sharing it with Tom Grennan. It's fine. But some people will be like, okay, well, that's not my boundary. And so, okay, well,
Yeah,
that's fine. There's no right
yeah.
or wrong to that. I think like some boundaries are very clear and they're called laws. Like there are some
Yes.
boundaries that you can't break because it's
Yeah.
illegal. But I think there's also a lot of scope there for, you know what, if I just don't feel like that's something I want to agree to, don't have to justify that either.
Mm.
So wherever, if your boundary looks different to someone else's, and so sometimes I think I've been caught into that sometimes where I might have even said to someone like, oh, I don't really want to go to this thing. And they're like, well, I don't either, but we have to. It's like, how about neither of us go? How about we just
Yeah.
don't?
And then it's a shared thing, isn't it?
It's a shared thing, but
Yeah.
I think it's that thing of like, well, you know, we don't have to have the same boundaries.
No,
We can
not
have
at all.
different
Not
boundaries.
different.
What kind of tips then? Some last sort of little tips. I know we've given a few, but tips for holding boundaries.
So I've got a tip that my supervisor told me that is my work in progress. I've probably been sitting on this for about 3 months and haven't yet done it. Um, so I work quite a lot. I have 3 children, don't have a lot of time to myself, and we've kind of spoken about scheduling the diary, me time. So I have a paper diary because I'm old fashioned. I like that. So you write everything in your diary, don't you? Or you put it all in your calendar, doctor's appointments,
Yeah.
trips, everything.
Yeah.
But you don't schedule in me time.
No.
So my pin tip for the future, pin tip means, is to schedule in me time
Yeah.
to do something because I think part of, you know, being boundaryless and doing too much stuff that you don't want to do is that you don't leave time for you.
Yes.
And and then where does that leave you?
Yeah.
So that's one tip is to actually schedule in time for yourself.
Yeah. Because I think actually when we talk about boundaries, we haven't really sort of touched on boundaries when it comes to self-care and giving yourself time to look
Yeah.
after yourself. And if you are really busy, it's hard to go, okay, I'm going to give this time to me.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting that you say like something you've been talking about, but haven't really put into action.
Yeah.
Again, it's that
Yeah.
thing of like, this is a work in progress thing.
Yeah.
Now that's a tip that I have tried to use in the
Have
past.
you?
Yes, I'm going to add to your tip
Go on.
something that I find. So firstly would be, I would use an electronic calendar and I would schedule in time. There's a problem with that. It's really easy to go click and delete. So have a paper diary. And again, the second tip I give with that is I used to have colored pens that were kind of the ones where you could erase it, put it in permanent marker, put it in something. And if anything like me, I'm so like, if I have a calendar or a diary, I want it to all be like really neat and tidy. I hate
Yeah.
having to cross anything out.
Yeah.
Put it in impermanent pen where you cannot erase it easily. Because if it's an electronic calendar, it's so easy to go, okay, well, I'll just move it here and I'll move it
Yeah.
back a
Still feel
week.
that.
Something where actually it's in and it's really hard to remove that because that helps with holding that boundary.
Yeah.
But scheduling in time.
Yeah. Yeah. And that can be whatever you need it to be planned. It could be just reading a book for a couple of hours or having a cup of tea with
Yeah.
your favourite show. Just, well, you won't want a cup of tea, but.
It's a cup of something. But yeah. But it doesn't matter what that is, whatever your self-care is, finding time for, I don't say no, I use the word finding time there. Finding time isn't right. And I hate when I use the word finding time. Or I get annoyed when other people say finding time for something.
Did I say find?
No, I don't think you did. Didn't notice if you did anyway. I just did there and it annoyed me when I said it. Because I don't think you find time. It's like you look down the back of the sofa, it's, oh my gosh, I've got half an hour. Where did that come from? I think you have to make time. You have to make it a priority. And that's part of holding a boundary of, okay, I'm going to take care of myself. I'm going to look after my well-being. I need to make that something that is a priority.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
have to make time for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think one of the tips that I'm living through at the moment, and it's very relevant, actually, it's very current. So my email signature at work, I don't know if you've noticed, I would have emailed you often. I had a thing at the bottom of my email signature that says, please note this is a calm inbox.
Love that. I have noticed.
I will check my emails between 9 and 10:30 and again between 3:30 and 5. I might not respond to you between those times, but I will get back to you as soon as possible. That was my attempt to go, right, this is the boundary I want to set. I'm going to check my emails in the morning. I'm going to check them in the evening. The time in between is for me to go and do other things that I need to do without the distraction of email. It is a lovely boundary in theory. As we already know, it's just not one that I can maintain. It's a boundary that I would love to be able to do. I just cannot hold that. The practicalities at the moment don't enable me to be able to. And so last night, because I was emailing last night at like 9 o'clock of a night to catch up on some emails, and I was typing a reply and I could see this in my thing. I was like, I have to take that out because I'm looking at that boundary that I'm telling myself I want to hold. And I'm getting not upset, upset's not the right word, a little bit frustrated, a little bit disappointed that I cannot hold that boundary right now. And every time I see it, it's just a little pinprick of you're not holding this boundary. And it's like, actually, this isn't serving me a purpose right now because I physically cannot hold that boundary. I can't do it. There isn't enough time in those windows for me to respond to all these.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I need to change that. It's still my aspiration to get back to that. But right. And so what I'm having to do is think, okay, let's change that boundary. I will answer emails whenever they come in, whenever I have time, because that's what I need to do. I want to get back to that point, but in order to do that, I need to have X, Y, and Z in place. So let's work on putting those things in place and then the boundary can follow.
Yeah.
I don't think the boundary could come first and then put those in place at the same time.
No. And it's not a healthy boundary, is it? If it's causing you distress because you can't hold it.
This is it. So it is still my aspiration to get to that. That is the boundary I want to hold. The other work boundary, have I ever told you about the emails whilst I'm on holiday boundary? I don't know if I've ever mentioned.
No, I'm concerned that this is even a conversation. You shouldn't be replying on holiday anyway.
Well, no, so here's the thing. So it's not about replying on holiday. I'm quite good at that. I don't take my laptop with me if I'm on holiday. But there is someone that we work with who is like, she's my email heroine. I absolutely love her to bits. She's my hero that I want to be. She's the one who taught me about the calm inbox. She has that on her email signature. I was like, that's what I want to do. But she also has another thing that she does where on her out of office when she's on holiday, it will say, I'm on annual leave until such and such a date.
Yep.
All emails will be deleted in my absence. Please email me again on my return.
Oh.
And I'm like, I so want to do that because I go on holiday and I come back knowing there is like 100 emails to respond to that I've got to plow my way through. And it's always that kind of last day of the holiday when you know it's coming. Imagine being able to come back and know that your inbox is exactly the same as when you, and she just has it set up so it will automatically delete them. And I can't get to that point. I just can't.
I don't know how I feel about that, you know.
I love her for it. She honestly, I absolutely adore her for it. I think it's amazing. I think it's brilliant. I think it's all of us should do. I just don't think it's practical. And she's got a very quite senior job. I have no idea how she does it. And I want to be able to do that. I think that was a really healthy boundary to hold because it would take a lot of stress off on that last day of holiday, knowing what I'm coming back to. I just, again, think practically I can't do that right now. I'm not in that place for it. But it's an aspiration of mine. When the day comes where I can hold those 2 email boundaries and be okay with it, I'll know I've made it. Be happy with that day.
Top tier boundary maker.
But I think the tip for now is like, okay, if you hold a boundary and you need to change that right now because your circumstances don't allow you to maintain that, that's okay too. It's okay to kind of say, okay, well, that doesn't work right now. I'd like to get back to that eventually. But for now, I just need to change that boundary.
Yeah, that's going to work towards that one.
Yeah. It comes to something that my supervisor said a while back, which was bouncy castle boundaries rather than brick wall boundaries. Some boundaries you have to have a little bit of give,
Absolutely.
bit of flexibility.
Yeah.
You don't want them to be completely rigid. Some things you do, but a lot of things, there's that compromise, there's a bit of give there.
Yeah, they have to work for you, don't they, in different circumstances.
Any other tips that you've got?
Not that I can think of.
I've got one more, which I think is for those people who are like, boundaries is a new idea, it's a new topic for them. There's a likelihood actually the people around you, it's probably new to them as well. And when you start holding a boundary, sometimes you find that actually the reaction you get isn't a positive one. What do you mean you're saying no to this? You've always said yes. I think there's 2 things I would say around that. Firstly, it's okay to try and explain that, you know what, I've been learning about boundaries. I've been recognizing that I'm not very good at holding boundaries and I want to try and get better at that. And kind of explaining why you're doing this, why you're changing this. But I think also kind of tied into that is not being swayed by when you put boundaries in place and people aren't happy with it, it's easy to go back to, okay, well, I'll just go back to how it was before. Sometimes when you put boundaries in place, people aren't going to be happy.
No.
And that's okay because also not your responsibility for them to be happy. About you prioritizing your well-being. So if someone is unhappy with that, if someone does kick back and have a reaction, that's okay. Doesn't mean you have to change your decision, doesn't mean you have to change your boundaries. Might just take them a bit of time to get used to it.
Yeah. And I think, you do whatever you need to do to feel better in that situation. If it calls for an explanation, then, you do that if needs be.
But like most things, it's a journey. It's a process, trusting the process sometimes.
Yeah.
But I think it's also just about doing what you can when you can. So thank you very much for being part of this session. My hope is that if you came to this with no idea around boundaries, that you're leaving with maybe a little bit more of an idea when it comes to boundaries. Thank you very much for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye for now.
Thank you.
You doing the intro?
No.
This could be the outtake for like all of them. Like, you doing the intro? Nope. It is for the second one, I think. It's me going, do you want to do the intro? And you're like, nope. Not at all. So maybe I'll do it one time. Just not today. It's fine.